Alright fellas, what just happened? In a night which was meant to be a simple stepping stone for Haney and Garcia to land their much anticipated rematch turned out to be anything but. Both fighters went out there and put on relatively disastrous performances. Haney managed to pull off the win but lulled the crowd to sleep. And Ryan did much the same, although he didn't do enough to even win, with Rolly Romero taking home what might be upset of the year. So after a night of truly unexpected outcomes, I'm here to break it all down for you guys, talk about what just happened, and the even more important question of, well, what now? But just quickly before we break it all down, this channel is your one-stop shop for everything boxing, so make sure to subscribe and I will always keep you in the loop. Now, there's just so much to unpack. Tonight's event as a whole was just weird. Let's be honest, none of us really saw this event going in the direction it did. It was clear from the start of this event that it just had little to no atmosphere. Although it was in Times Square, which is such a cool concept, the problem is when you don't have a boxing crowd and only have celebrities, the event's atmosphere is more like a COVID event than what you would expect from a mega boxing event in New York. And it just kinda hurt the viewing experience. Although let's be honest, if they did let the public in, it would have been a logistics nightmare. So obviously this was really the only safe way to hold an event in Times Square, but I think this will be the first and last time that we will see an event there. Now this event was kind of following the same formula as a previous Riyadh season event. If you guys remember a little while ago the Day of Reckoning card, which featured both Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua against different opponents, with them picking relatively easy fights on paper, which would then set them up for a mega fight next. But of course, Wilder would go on to lose to Parker, and Joshua Wilder would never see the light of day. So this was just another case of that same concept, featuring both Ryan and Devin on the same card against easy on paper opponents, and this will only add further hype for the rematch if everything goes right. But obviously, it all kind of went wrong. And just quickly before we break it down, remember tomorrow we see the return of the face of boxing, Canelo, so make sure to set yourself up early with that pay-per-view using the link down in the description. There's only one place to watch it, and that's on the home of Boxing DAZN. And trust me, you don't want to miss this. So where to start with what went wrong? First, let's briefly talk about that Devin match. I won't bore you too much with details about the fight because it was all pretty grim. I made a video yesterday talking about his faults and many people jumped on me saying I know nothing about boxing because of this. Turns out I kinda do. His mental just obviously wasn't the same. I do reckon with the Haney game plan, they knew that Ramirez doesn't really punch unless he has his feet set under him. So that's why they were moving a lot, and Ramirez didn't really know what to do. But the problem is, that's really all Haney was doing. Haney was a bigger track star than Shakur. I read something on Twitter that said they were watching Shakur highlights just to wake up from this fight. And there's some truth to that. It was an incredibly big snooze fest. Haney looked simply scared to engage. He obviously had mental scars which hadn't healed, and no matter the talk from Bill, they hadn't healed. He was scared of getting hit and scared of putting himself in a situation where he could get hit. It was embarrassing from Haney, there's no real other way to put it. Overall, it was a no-action fight, and the Haney we saw against Prograis, Kambosos and Loma just wasn't there. He wasn't working off his signature jab really at all, and the world-class Haney we've seen in the past just wasn't there tonight. So Haney looked incredibly average, but he got the win. He got the job done. Although incredibly tedious, he still got the win. So you can't really slate him too much. The same can't be said for Ryan. We all expected Ryan to get Rolly out of there early. And this was mainly based off Rolly's last performances. They were all pretty bad. And the Ryan we saw against Haney was fantastic. So none of us really expected what would happen next. It was a conservative start for both fighters, but then out of nowhere in round 2, Rolly would floor Garcia with a couple left hooks which absolutely rattled him. And then from this point forwards, the fight really slowed to a crawl. Garcia couldn't figure out Rolly's awkward style and looked really just defeated from this point on. Alike to Haney, he just didn't look like himself. Romero just continued to gain more and more confidence, and then by the championship rounds, Garcia found himself really in a position where he would have to get the knockout. His inactivity in this bout really cost him the fight, and the last couple rounds were just much of the same. Romero took home a fairly easy points decision, and I'm happy they gave the result to the right guy. But this outcome does leave a million questions. The first elephant in the room is this is Ryan's first fight back after that positive test. Does not having things in his system play a real part to his performance tonight? I don't personally think so, but I'll let you guys debate that one down below. I think a lot of us did ignore the fact that both Garcia and Haney have had huge layoffs. Ring rust would have played a massive factor. And the personal life of Garcia always seems to be a roller coaster. He just didn't look confident. I think there might be a lot of factors that we haven't considered which might slowly start to come out in the coming days. He didn't look like himself, but it's a pretty horrible look coming off probably the best performance of your career where you tested positive, to possibly the worst of your career where you're now negative. The other elephant in the room as well, what now for the rematch? I reckon really regardless of these outcomes, the rematch is still gonna happen. Does this event take away a significant amount of hype for the rematch? Yeah. They should have just had the rematch straight away instead of having this in-between event which just seemed like a bit of a recipe for disaster. Haney would still want his revenge over Garcia, and Ryan, I think even after his performance tonight, would look at Haney as pretty easily beatable. Styles make fights. But really, the bottom line is, the rematch is one of those mega fights you can make currently in boxing. The amount of noise that rematch would still make would warrant them making the fight. Both fighters are coming off dismal performances. Let's just make the rematch now. They're on the same level. It would still be entertaining and would still captivate the boxing world. For both fighters, as I said before, an element of ring rust is probably at play. For Haney, really, tonight's result brought more question than answers. The bloke just doesn't look like the same fighter. For Garcia, it's kind of the same. Ryan Garcia's performances always seem like a roller coaster. Either he's hyper confident like he was against Haney, he's willing to take risks and dictate the fight on his terms, or he fights like he did tonight or how he did against Tank. The bloke just looks kinda terrified, no confidence, and seems to be questioning his own ability. Even after Ryan's loss, he didn't look really completely devastated. He looked like he kinda expected this outcome. Which makes me question what's been happening in his camp over the last few months, because he seemed to be in shape, but clearly there was another element at play. Yet the one thing you can't take away from tonight though is the performance from Rolly Romero. That was a mega upset. After taking multiple pretty horrific losses and having multiple average bouts since, he really took advantage of the situation tonight and has launched himself back into a position where he could seal himself some mega fights ahead. Although, Rolly did acknowledge that the Ryan and Haney rematch is probably next in his post-fight interview. He knows the money that's at play, and I highly doubt we'll see a rematch between him and Ryan in their next few fights. But now it's time for the fun part. I want to hear what you guys think. Your thoughts on Ryan, Haney's and Teo's performances. I want to hear all your theories on what went wrong and all your thoughts of the bouts down below. And I also want to hear your thoughts on the event and what's next for all of them. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really does a ton to help the channel. Yeah, thanks for watching fellas, and I'll catch you in the next one.